Hi there, welcome to the Farmer's Shadow. My name is Paul. In this episode, we're going to discuss garlic, one of my favorite things to grow and eat and cook and share. We're going to talk about different varieties of garlic, where to get them, kind of get them on the cheap, and also how to grow them, and a little bit about their history and a little bit about their health benefits and uses. All right, so just a little quick thing about garlic. Garlic is so easy to grow, so satisfying. It's so just, you get super jazzed growing garlic. If you like garlic, if you don't like garlic, well, sorry. So a lot of different types of garlic, and then lots of varieties that are in those types. And I can't really tell you all the types, but some are considered hardneck. Like that has this really hard stem that's very, very hard. I mean, you can see it. So this is what's left over when garlic grows a garlic scape, you know, and it's the remnant of what, you know, these plants used to grow a stalk with flowers, and now very few do. There's still a few around, and some people are doing garlic breeding, but this is the stalk. And a soft neck garlic, let's find one of those. Like here's a type this one's called artichoke, so it's one of the types. An artichoke has a soft neck, so it does definitely these are just leaves, and there was no like stalk in there, no scape, no nothing. It's called soft neck. So these are soft neck garlics are ones that you could braid, and hard necks you can't, because they would have this really hard stem, so there's no chance of braiding it. Lots and lots of different types. So hardneck tends to have, you can see these big bulgy cloves. They tend to have larger cloves, yep, which are easier to cut up. And then many other varieties have smaller cloves, and some have super tiny ones. They're just kind of a pain to even deal with, but they're grown because they have some cultural significance, or they have a really amazing flavor, or they store a long time, or they're really spicy. You know, lots and lots of different reasons why people grow different varieties of things. These are all named varieties. This one here is a Romanian red, and it's considered a porcelain. And I guess there's a certain characteristics to that type of porcelain, but they also are a hardneck. Yeah, bunch of varieties, really fun. This one's a Chopaka mountain artichoke type, and I guess they say they kind of resemble like an artichoke flower, you know. So that's that. And the shallots. This company here, Fillory Farm, they specialize in garlic and shallots, and they even do some other, I think some potatoes, but mainly garlic. And I've had great luck. And one shopping tip is these are varieties that might cost $20 a pound. This is a pound. This is a half a pound. And so, you know, it can get costly. Investing in these, you know, early red Italian artichoke variety. But they do have one option, and this is supposed to be sold for food. So it's artichoke, but it's that type, but it's a bunch of mixed varieties. So I don't know exactly how that happens. Maybe during their processing, some things get a little confusing and they have a bunch of extra left over, but these were a fraction of the cost. So if you just want good garlic, then you could actually buy their food grade ones, and just go that route. It's 4 pounds, and it was fraction. You could also obviously eat it too. And so supposedly these are all artichoke type, but they could be different varieties. There's nothing wrong with them, but maybe they're on the cloves are on the bulbs are on the small side, you know, which they are. But you know, good budget tip to get some really good varieties of garlic, and a lot for a really reasonable amount. One of the things I'm going to do here is so hardneck, you've got to divide these all. So you could like pry them apart with your fingers, and you're going to see they have these individual cloves, and you want to leave that outer skin on. You don't peel it anymore. This part can come off. And also, you'll notice when you get working at this, these float all over the place and they look like litter. So, you know, maybe do it somewhere where you can sweep them up, or do it somewhere where they're gonna blow away and it's not gonna be a big deal. But, so you can see how huge that clove is. So this is really convenient to cut up and use that. So you can do it by hand, and then you'll see you end up with the stem. And here was what was the original clove was this. You know, it rooted, grew into a bulb, and then grew 1, 2, there's 5 here. So then you just split these up, and these are ready to go. And then you just take off whatever's loose, and those are ready, just like that. Other interesting way, you can normally you can bang this onto something, and it will pop that off. Let's see if it works. Right here. So you just, yeah. So you see, you pop that out from me banging on it, and now you just kind of split them apart. So that's one, only with hardneck garlic. Obviously, you couldn't do it with other ones. You would bruise the tops of these, so it didn't hurt these cloves. I'm gonna drop these cloves here, and this part, and let it float somewhere else. Yeah. So that's kind of a quickie. Wow, look at that's one gigantic clove. Not a bulb, a clove. Yeah, same thing. I'll try this. Yeah. Yep. Punches that up, loosens it, and that's it. So the other ones, you've got to, yeah, I'll separate these, hang on to the cloves, I'll put them all back in that bag so I know I don't mess up the varieties. They're pretty obvious, they're gigantic. But let's take a look at one of these artichoke. And you can see there's no hard neck on it. A little bit purple. I'm just going to peel a little bit of this off. Let's see what we get. And then you have to do this by hand. So here's a smaller clove, and they're kind of stacked on top of each other. These had one single row of cloves. These have multiple rows of cloves. So definitely take some thumb strength. You might be able to pop the bottom off sometimes, like that, and take it apart. And if you see some that aren't good, like that one, totally rotten, that gets discarded. It won't grow. Or if it does grow, it'll die in the process, so don't bother with it. That one looks funky, and I'm not gonna do that. Another one, it does happen. And light as a feather, no weight, no good. So yeah, they need to be healthy and have some weight. If they're dried up, these look okay. So you can see by hand. Yeah. So gonna do a number of these. These are gonna get planted today. So the first one is kind of hard to get out. Drop it. Take off some of this outer skin. If you get to the middle and there's some really tiny ones, like this one, this actually is a clove, but it's so tiny, it's not really going to grow a very large bulb. So a lot of farmers will just, put these in a container and take it home and eat it. So it's really tiny. The other thing you could do, like here's some tiny ones that are wrapped right in the center. That one's decent. And here's just another smaller one. You could separate all the small cloves. Yeah, there's actually little tiny ones in here. You could separate all the small cloves and plant them in a separate area. So they'll grow a bulb about this big, about as big as like a really teeny tangerine or a really big marble. And then you store that until the next season. You plant it again. So it's really up to you. So if you want to, but I'd put them in a separate area. I wouldn't plant them with the other ones because you'll have good size bulbs and then a whole bunch of little dwarf ones that are kind of taking up a space where you could have had a good one. So put all the dwarf ones in another spot, let them mature, give them another year, then plant them. And that works out just fine. Yeah. Actually, you could probably put these in like you could kind of winnow out this stuff. You could drop them into a box or a tote and get rid of that fluffy stuff if you don't like the way it looks, because it looks a little trashy in your beds. The description are really detailed when you're shopping for garlic. You will see them, oh boy, a lot written about every single variety, their flavor, the size of the cloves, how many cloves, the uses, the spiciness, definitely the shelf life, how long things last, and sometimes growing conditions, a little bit different growing conditions. Yeah. So here in the Southwest, it's really smart to plant your garlic in the fall if you can. You can literally plant throughout the entire winter and then even into spring here, but it's best in fall. Our winters are mild. Garlic really likes our conditions, the soil, the weather, and that's when we normally get the most amount of rain, is December, January, February, maybe March, but most of the time it's actually January, February. These things just grow like crazy from the rain, and so you get free irrigation, and these things will do really well during that time. And before the rains hit, you've got to irrigate them, but they really like these winter days here, and they do best during that time. Like I said, it actually is pretty flexible for us here in Southern California of when you plant them, but best is early fall. Get them in the ground, give them that space. You probably have just cleared your beds of all the warm season things anyways. This is one of the best things to get in first, and dedicate some space to it, and then go ahead and get your other cool season crops in. But yeah, cool season, shallots do really great in cool season. A number of the bulbing onions do great in the cool season here. With the bulbing onions, you want to check to see if they can be one of the fussiest and most challenging, but also common foods that we've ever had. But the bulbing onions are a pain. And but you want to check this and research your varieties. Make sure that they are short day or long day onions, and that if they're a short day onion, that means that the days are getting shorter, and for some reason they grow during that time. If the days are getting longer and you plant them out of season, they're not happy. You'll just have a big green scallion and then it'll bloom. So, I know that's not the best description, but I would do your homework for the bulbing onions. Yeah. So, but you grow them at the same time normally, depending on what type, long day, short day. A lot of people wonder, where garlic came from, and they're really sure it's somewhere in Europe and even in parts of Asia. If you think about it, I mean, can you even imagine cooking without garlic? Food without garlic? Then it would just be food. It wouldn't be. When garlic came around, and then that's when cuisine was invented. So many of the flavors that we have, because if you think about garlic, it's not really a bulky vegetable that we eat. We don't eat it in bulk. Most of us don't. Some people do, but it's a flavor. It's also a medicine. It's all kinds of things. It's a stimulant. It's an aphrodisiac. It's really, really good for the human body in so many ways, but it definitely is looked at by a number of cultures that it's absolutely essential. We wouldn't consider not having garlic. Many cultures. it's even looked at as a stimulant. So there's some cultures like, no, don't eat garlic or onions because they stimulate you too much. So that's another interesting way of looking at it. But some cultures call it the stinking rose. That's what it's called, because it looks kind of like a rosebud, and they think of it as like something really precious and beautiful, like a rose, but it also smells, and so it's called a stinking rose. And but yeah, it's an amazing amazing food that many cultures hold in high regard. You know, there's all kinds of ways that it's just, you'll see some really cool cultures where they make bread and they just cut the clove in half and they just rub it on their really high quality homemade bread, and it adds just enough flavor. And they make all kinds of garlic graters out of ceramics and all kinds of beautiful things. It really has a lot of cultural history, garlic. It's one of the things that the Romans, you know, this is one of the things that sustained them. Olive oil, garlic, bread, you know, very few other things that the Roman army had, but garlic was something that really was an essential to keep them healthy and also just keep them happy. Yeah, lots and lots of cultures. You know, they ferment it, they dry it. There's types that are aged and cultured, and it's called black garlic, and it's ancient. You know, it takes a long, like maybe a few months to turn it pure black, and then it's eaten that way. It's cooked and baked, so it comes out like a cream, and it's a baked garlic or roasted garlic, and then you squeeze the whole head, and it comes out like a paste, and used on breads and stuff like that. But you know, it's pickled and fermented, and gosh, it's just an amazing food. And it's so sad when some people either have an allergic reaction to it or it's just repulsive to them. It's kind of sad, because it's one of those foods and flavors that have taken you know, the experience of food to a whole different place. And it's one of those ones like chili peppers or, you know, onions and things like that. That just is such an amazing addition to the human diet, really. Yeah, so garlic. There you go. Well, we're gonna get some of these planted. What I'm doing is I'm gonna label a little section where we're gonna plant these. And this is the Romanian red, and it's a porcelain type. Is that one with a huge clove. And so first I'm going to write down what this is. These are my real expensive name, you know, plant tags. These are mini blinds. Looks really good. PVC mini blinds, you know, the ones sticking out of your neighbor's trash can every week or so. So Romanian red. And I try to write in big letters so I can see it as I walk by what it is. I'm gonna put the date, where it came from, Fillory Farm, and that's it. What I'm gonna do is I always stick the label right in the middle of the bed. This will be the section that it is, and I stick it at an angle. So it's, you know, just at a really severe angle, so you can just walk by, read it really easy. What's the point of having it, you know, you're always bent over, like flipping the tag over? Just have it so it's almost like aiming right at you, real easy. So that's that. And I've just got a few of these. It was a ½ pound, and these cloves are monsters. So there. What I'm gonna do is place these about a foot apart. I'm rich in space, so I can actually give these plants a really decent amount of space, and their roots won't even intermingle. So what I'm doing is 1, 2, and I'm about 12 inches from the edge of the bed. One's in the center. It's kind of a zigzag. There's one there, one here, here, and I'm just gonna play with this spacing there, and I'm gonna stop right there. Yep, and I've got a few more to do. One more quick little row, there. So it's kind of, in a way, it's a zigzag effect. Yeah, out there. And I've got 2 more that'll fit. Actually, I like this spot and this one. Perfect. So I end up being Nice little straight, you know, straight across the bed right there. And lots of space. I'm literally growing these. This, like I said, this is just a half a pound. And this is one little tiny patch of this variety. If it does great, I'm sure I'll at least keep half of it. And just for my own seed stock. And plant is, it couldn't be easier. Literally, there's a blunt end. That's where all the roots are gonna grow. And when you take a bulb of garlic, you break it apart, you've just triggered this to grow. Because now air and light and moisture can get to this area where the roots will grow. They grow right around the edge. Right here is all these immature roots will just pop right out and start growing. So that's the bottom of the plant where the roots grow. This is the pointed part is where it'll crack right open just like a seed, and green leaves will come out of this in less than a week if this is touching moisture. And you want to plant them just a hair under soil surface. So this could still be sticking out. Definitely not deep. If you plant garlic deep in the ground, it'll grow, it'll look fine. As it bulbs up, it's really confusing to it. This is way down, too far in the soil. It'll stay moist for too long, and it never goes drought dormant. So really near the surface is better than deeper. Yeah. So basically, it's just gonna push this into the soil. So it just barely disappears, and I cover it up. That's it. This one in, cover it up. And if that tip is sticking out, totally fine. And I tend to lay them out and kind of get a real good idea of my spacing. And I kind of want to create a little block in this bed. So that's why I was able to do that. That worked out good. Just push them into the moist soil. And that's it. One of the things I love about garlic is the ease of planting. So it doesn't even look like it's covered, but you just do that. Got it. And right through the compost. It's gonna root. That food is gonna be right there. Looking good. Done. That's that.